Ciao! Welcome back to my channel. I'm Luca, and in today's video we're going to take a deep dive into polygons and polylines for Google Maps with Jetpack Compose. When I did my first video about the argument, polylines didn't have the capabilities of specifying different color of the lines. And now we can, and it's also possible to create gradients. For polygons, we're going to take a look at holes. It was already possible to use them when I released my first video, but I didn't talk about them, so I'll do it in today's video. By the way, now you can see on the screen the previous video about polygons and polylines from my channel. Let's start with polylines. Here I have a simple main activity which just create a Google Maps and set it to zoom in on London. So what we want to do is to use the polylines function. The polyline function that we're looking for is the one here with this signature, because we're looking for spans specifically. Spans accept a list of style span, and I'll show you in a moment how to use them. So first of all, let's define some polyline points, which will define the line that we will going to show. Now, if we go ahead and use the polyline points that we just defined and launch our application, we can see that here we have the line that highlights the 5 points: first, second, third, fourth, and fifth points. Now we can customize it a bit, as we have already seen, for example, increasing the width. Let's define it as 25F to make it thicker. And now what we're looking for is the parameter spans, which accept a list of span. What we can do is define a list of colors. Keep in mind that you need a list which has the same size of polylines points -1. This is because the colors are applied to the segments of the lines. So if we have 5 points, as we have right now here, you will need 4 segments to colors. So what we can do now is map the colors and create a span style from the color. We can use the color to argb function and map those 4 colors into a list of spans. If we now run the app, we will see that we have 4 different colors used in our application. And here we are. The 4 different colors are used, one for each segment. Keep in mind that if you reduce the number of colors inside your list and you run your application, you will see that the first color is applied to the first segment and the second color is applied to the second segment. But the remaining segments, so the third and the fourth segment, keep using the last color in the list for our polyline. Here I created a single gradient from red to yellow to use in our polyline. Differently than using just 2 colors, if you're using a gradient, it will color the entire line with the gradient that you specified. And as you can see, the gradient is used over the entire polyline that we have drawn on map, starting from the red and getting to the yellow. But we can also have different colors and different gradients for every single span or segment between 2 points of our polyline. To do so, we will need another list of colors. This time, for example, I created a list with 4 elements. Remember, we need the same size of the points -1 because we're coloring segments and not points. So I created a list of pairs of color that we will use in the spans in order to create gradients. To do so, I map the polyline color pairs list that I created that contains pairs of color in the same way I created the gradient using the style span stroke style.gradient builder and gradienting the color from the first of the pair to the second and keep going for every single element in that list. If I rerun the app, you will see a gradient from red to yellow on the first segment, yellow to green, green to cyan, and cyan to blue on the last one. And here is a beautiful one, polyline colored as we intended it to be. This is how you can achieve a similar effect of the ones from Garmin, Strava, and other running or activity tracking application that draws your path on a map using different color and different gradients along the line in order to quantify your speed, your altitude, or your stress, or whatever it is. Now let's talk about polygons. I mentioned that we want to use and apply some holes in our polygon. To do so, we have the holes parameter, which is a list of latitude and longitude points. So if we define some points and use them in a polygon, we should be able to see the polygon which uses the default black color on our map. Here's our big black polygon on top of London. Now what we want to do is use the hole parameter, and we need to provide a list of points. So for example, let's define a list that contains 4 points and provide it inside a list of to our polygon composable function. If we run our app, here we have our hole made of 4 points. If we zoom in enough, we will be able to see the 4 different points that define our hole in our polygon. Since it's a list of points, we can go ahead and create another list of points and use it inside the list of holes that we have here. So if we use this one as well and we rerun our app, we will see that the same polygon now has 2 different points inside of it. And here are our 2 different holes inside our polygon. One thing I'd like to mention is that in the polygon you can define the stroke color and the stroke width. If I define a stroke color of red, for example, and a stroke width of 2, we can also go ahead and create a stroke pattern. This needs a list of. We can go ahead and create a dash and a gap as the pattern. Now I mentioned the stroke width, color, and pattern because I want to show you that the same pattern is applied also inside the polygon on the holes. 2F, it's quite hard to see. Let's update it to 10F. It will be easier to notice that the same stroke is applied both outside and inside the polygons for the holes. Another thing I'd like to show you is what happens when you define some points that are completely outside of your polygon. So I have defined here a polygon hole tree which contains 3 points that are completely outside of the polygon. Now, what do you think will happen? Well, my expectation was that those 3 points were not drawn at all on the map. But unfortunately, those 3 points are drawn as an external polygon from our polygon instead of as a hole on nothing. I would have expected map to handle this scenario, but I guess that they basically apply a diff from 2 polygons, and if one polygon is outside another polygon and you create a diff, the results will be that your second polygon will be drawn instead of subtracted. Another scenario is if you have a list of points where one is inside your polygon and one or more are outside of your polygon. So the polygon that you're applying as a whole is partially inside and partially outside your main polygon. And this is what happens if we define a polygon that is partially inside the polygon and partially outside the polygon. You will see the subtraction made on your main polygon, but another polygon drawn outside of your main polygon, as it happens when all the points of the whole are outside of the polygon area itself. And that was all for me today in this short video about enhancement and improvements with a deeper dive and a deeper look inside the Polygon and Polyline function from the Google Map Jetpack Compose library. Thanks for watching, and until the next time, peace!